Hello.
Hello, it is summertime, and we just couldn't get enough of Farmcraft. We didn't want to take a break this whole summer, and
That's right.
so we put together some awesome challenges for you. So here we are to tell you a little bit about them. First, my name's Claire LeBeau. I am Chief Advancement Officer at NASEF, the fabulous network of academic and scholastic esports federations. We have folks already registered from all around the world for our Farmcraft challenges, which is so fun. And that's because the work of the team at CleverLike is making this summer exciting. So welcome, Eric.
And I love this. So hello, welcome. I'm Eric Leitner. I'm the education content producer for Clever Lake Studios. Go by River Online. And yes, it is summer. I am wearing my hat to keep the sun off my nose because the UV is strong out there. But I still got I'm representing my Minecraft. I got my bee on my hat right here. So, that is important. Gotta represent, gotta feel
It's
summery.
Minecraft and Farmcraft all in one.
It is, right? The pollinators are important, we wouldn't have any of these crops without our pollinators.
Exactly.
So gotta represent. And maybe that will be the theme for one of the things you create. So we did a video before in the summer already. We've got one rolling already with our summer challenges. That's our build challenge. And our build challenge is still going on. Submissions are open through August 2nd. That's that build a marketplace challenge where you have to research what crops are available in your area and build and design a marketplace to share that information with all of us. But what's really exciting, and I will spill all the beans now because I can, because people have been asking, what is the coding camp going to be? What is it? And we had to keep our lips really sealed because the CleverLike team has been working closely with the Minecraft education team to create a curriculum that teaches students game design, starting from the fundamentals all the way up. And it's a 7-lesson game world where everything is in the game world, including links to instructional videos on how to do it. You will hear my voice a lot. It is very weird when I show it to people because I have to hear my own voice. And no one likes their own voice. But
you have a great voice.
But we're going to be using that curriculum, but we're going to do it with a Farmcraft lens, meaning we're going to be teaching you or challenging you to create mini games, not whole games. You're not, you've been playing the Farmcraft games, many of you, for season after season after season, and those are big and elaborate. But you might wonder, how do I get started on making some of these things? So we're going to challenge you to just make a very simple mini game with a Farmcraft theme. And that is our goal for our coding challenge. So we're on the NASEF website already.
Wait, Eric, I gotta jump in.
Yeah, you do.
How much does it cost to complete this coding camp?
It's free. It is $0.00.
All right. It is, just making sure. That is one of my favorite words, as we all know, is free.
Brian likes to say, he's not here, is free 99, except there's no 99. So it's just the free part.
Perfect.
So it's totally free. And that includes, for the record, if you need Minecraft education licenses, the folks at NASEF, like the wonderful Claire, will provide all of those licenses to you when you click this wonderful little register button right here and get you or your team registered. And yes, you can do this individually. And yes, you can do it as part of a team of up to 4. So just like any of our other challenges, the registration is exactly the same. And that button has not moved. All the summer challenges fall under that same registration. So if you want to get registered, if you're not already for the summer challenges and you want to, let's say, participate only in the coding challenge, that's where you get registered. And we'll show you how to submit, of course, because there will be a difference in how you submit your build challenge and your coding challenge. So let's get rocking on this. Aren't we excited to see what this is all about? Because it's been asking like crazy, so we may as well jump into it.
Yes, let's jump in.
So if we scroll down, there's our build a market challenge. That's still going on, still going strong. But then we've got our coding camp challenge. And the whole goal is to use the brand new. I mean, you're going to be some of the first to use it because odds are
exciting.
People are going to be this launched last week, and kids are out of school. They're not in school, which means they're probably not going to dig into these opportunities and learn this cool stuff, until the school year starts. So if you're doing this over the summer, you're going to be some of the first students to ever do this, which is really, really cool.
That's awesome.
But just like with the other ones, you will find the link to the challenge guide. Let's look at the challenge real quick. So I'm going to click that challenge guide link, and we're going to do some zoom in because boy, that's small.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So I'm going to actually scroll down. There's an overview, just like you see on the other page. There are some basic objectives and your tasks, which are simplified for the summer. So this is not big homework. And you're going to tune into the stream that you're watching right now. So good news.
If you're check number 1. Woo, you did it.
Good job. You're already crushing it. But you're going to take a look at the presentation. So Farmcraft has always provided a designed game world with game mechanics each season for players to experience. And now, of course, it's your turn. You know what, Claire, in the past, we have actually done some live stream sessions on like a meet the builders of the world. And we've had conversations with myself and Brian and folks on the Clever Like team of like what went into actually the game development, which is outside of the farming element. But how did we incorporate the farming elements in this to make a game? And now we're saying, you know what, instead of just telling you what we did, we're going to get you started on the path to doing it yourself.
Right.
So it's your turn.
Maybe as you've played Farmcraft, there was one aspect that you really loved the most. I wonder actually how many games you think we're going to get that involve caterpillars in some way.
Well, caterpillars are tricky. They're a custom asset, and that's going to be a big challenge to get those in there. But there are lots of mobs in the game already that you could use to represent whatever it is you want. Got it. So maybe it won't be caterpillars. I mean, unless we have some really advanced coders out there, but we'll see.
All right.
So you are tasked with creating a mini game based on Farmcraft goals and themes. And there have been a lot of, we've been doing this for 4 years. We've covered a lot of information. But the good news is like, you don't have to do a deep dive into this. You just have to choose what you want it to be. And remember, you're making a mini game. It's supposed to be fun. So your interpretation of that is also totally cool. Like I'm going to share one in a little bit that I made. Just to kind of hit on some of these. In fact, I focused on feeding a population and the transportation of, goods and services and food, etc. It's in the most ridiculous way imaginable. Like it's not real life, but I hit on some of those goals. So you're going to see what I mean. Like we want them to be fun.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Eric, when I look at the instructions here, it seems like a whole lot, and it might be a little bit intimidating and overwhelming. And then I saw the game as an example, and I was like, oh yeah, this is totally doable.
Yeah, it's absolutely
keep
doable.
Keep watching. You were gonna love the example.
And the beauty is the game code curriculum. Yeah, and the game code curriculum is going to take you through a whole path to teach you how to do it step by step, video instruction by video instruction. You know, if you're not the person where you're like, I don't want to read all the instructions how to do this, or I don't want to experiment learn. Good news, like video step by step, we're going to walk you right through the process.
Perfect.
So your job is to build the skills to create your game by accessing and completing the free game code curriculum. And again, you're going to be some of the first to access that. And then, of course, you're going to build a game based on the Farmcraft theme instead of just whatever you want it to be. It's got to be Farmcraft themed. Yes. But we're giving you a whole list of what our previous Farmcraft themes and goals have been, which is preparing and protecting soil and soil health, water use and conservation, applying fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, planting and harvesting crops, defending crops from pests and weeds, genetic engineering, feeding a population, packing crops, transportation, and so much more. Like it just keeps going. And even this last season, we did non-traditional farming, autonomous technologies. For those of you who've done any coding, that the whole point is you're creating autonomous things. Your agent is going to do some of that. We did a little bit of that in the preseason of the last season. So, there's a lot to choose from, and you get to make it your own. You get to make it fun. You're making a mini game. It should be fun. So while you're designing your game, there are some things you got to consider. And the first, of course, is have I prepared myself for the challenge by completing the game code lessons and activities? Meaning, have I given myself all the skills I need to code a game? And I want you to know, we've run this curriculum in some pilot groups, and even 3rd, 4th graders have made some amazing games. They even made their own cover art for their games. It was really cool.
Oh, I love it.
They went into like, Canva or any of those design programs, and they're like, here's the cover for my game too, which was so cool.
Oh, that's so
have
cool.
I chosen a theme, and we've got a list of themes there above. Is my game going to be fun to play, right? It's a game. It should be fun to play. And is it easy to understand for the end user? And we're going to talk about how you're going to submit things like the instructions on how to play the game. Some of those might be in your game, and some of them you may need to provide as like a user guide or a game guide on how to play it. So we're going to talk about all those things. So in order to do any of this, of course, we need to access and complete the free MakeCode curriculum. So rather than go through this guide, I helped create this. So I know where it is and what it does. So I'm going to walk you through it. So we are going to go into our Minecraft game. Here we are in our Minecraft game. And forgive the lack of audio. That's always been a challenge. If I have to make fake noises, I'll do it. So there's a couple places where right now you can find the MakeCode curriculum. So I want to go through that. One is there's this new and featured. Well, guess what? It's new. It's featured. So it's right here. So awesome. That's like one click away. Now, I didn't put that in the guide because new and featured don't live here forever. And that's okay. This is where I get to toot Clever Legs horn and say, we also made this one. Oh, we also made this one.
Oh, you guys are amazing. Yes.
So we got a bunch of new and featured stuff in the Minecraft Education lesson library. But let's find it in the lesson library. So we're going to click play. And all these instructions are in that guide as well. We're going to click play. We're going to go to the lesson library. We're going to go to subject kits right here. Okay. We're going to be doing some computer science. So we're going to click in this computer science. And here's where it gets easy to navigate. Because boom, there's MakeCode right over there.
Awesome.
We're going to click on MakeCode, and then here's the world itself. We're going to click that, and we're going to click Create World. Now, this may take a few seconds, and we're going to jump through this, and I'm going to teach you some tricks, too. If you don't have time or if you have to open the world repeatedly, there are some ways to kind of skip through stuff. So you'll see you get the title screen, and in just a second, we're going to get a little cutscene that starts of our MakeCode ship flying in because the ship is the headquarters for the MakeCode crew. All right, so the ship is by the way, like, can you tell I'm a Star Wars fan? Like, come on, like, big Star Wars intro, right? Had to do it. But notice it says jump to skip cutscene. So I'm going to do that in the interest of time. I'm just going to hit my space bar here to jump. And I am aboard the ship. And it says speak to Captain McKenna. All I have to do is like walk towards or away or even, and it just starts this up for me. Yeah. So Captain McKenna will introduce herself and the MakeCode crew. My favorite thing about this is the ship is called the Hopper. And if you are a computer science nerd like I am, you know who that is named after. That is named after a very famous computer scientist. I highly recommend you research, named Grace Hopper. So we named the ship after Grace Hopper, phenomenal computer scientist. So Claire, what's up?
That's great. I was going to say, we have lots of people from different countries that have registered for this challenge. And so, I want to make sure we reinforce that if they click that little immersive reader button down there.
Oh, there was a problem connecting to immersive reader. Okay. Well, the immersive reader does the thing. That's okay. There may be some bugs on their side or on my side. Sometimes that happens. It's a website, and sometimes websites are funky. So that's okay. But this button right here will help you. If everything is working properly, it will
read it, will translate, and yes.
We didn't expect all the technology to work perfectly today, Claire, did we?
No,
that wouldn't be how technology goes.
Exactly.
But let's go through this story a little bit. This is where you get to meet the members of the crew. Now, if you want to, you can walk around and you can meet each of them and then return to the captain. But if you've already met them, like let's say this is your second time playing through, or you're just in the interest of time, I could say, you know what, I've already met them. So I'm going to do that in the interest of time. Say I already met them. Glad we had a chance to meet them, and they're going to be working with us. They're going to be our guides through all of this. You're going to see this icon in each one of the game design spaces, the arcade machines. And that means talk to this person. They've got information that's going to help you. This person that's got this icon over their head is going to have access, and I'll show you to all of the video content that you need to design and learn how to make these games. So we're going to look for that icon throughout. Oh, and we've got an alarm going off. There was an audio effect for that. Be glad you didn't have it.
Alert.
Right. So it's the alarm, and we've been summoned as like our job as the MakeCode crew is to help others fix their code, create code, and so on. And in this instance, we are saving an old dying arcade. This is a mission true to my heart. I grew up going to arcades. I love arcades, and admittedly, a lot of them are sort of going away. Some of them are still thriving, which is great. But we're going to fix it before it gets turned into an old storage space. That's our goal. So we're going to fix up this arcade by cleaning it up and then getting all the machines programmed so they've got new and fun games to play. Right? We don't want it to turn into a storage room.
No.
All right, so we're going to make our way to the teleporter and head to our arcade that we're going to be fixing up. And you can see some of those MakeCode crew members hanging out. So we're going to follow Captain McKenna. Following Captain McKenna. You know what's really funny is I do this with students, and they're always like, why does she walk so slow? Right? Because kids are good at this stuff. And then I teach adults how to do this, to do it in their classrooms. And they're like, can she slow down? I can't keep up.
Which is a great
so
point to bring up for people who are leading a summer camp or a class or something who are not Minecraft experts. Please always feel free to ask the kids in the room to help, because
you got a room full of
experts. They know what they're doing.
That's right. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to step on this teleporter pad, and we are in the arcade, as you can see in the background. Some of that's going to look, if you're nostalgic like me, it's going to look real familiar. But it's dark in here, so dark. It is dark in here. So it's jump to activate the lights. Let's get those motion sensors going. There we go. We got lights. That worked. Right? But we need to fix this place up. And in order to do that, if you've ever coded in Minecraft, and even if you haven't, there's good news for you. We need our agent. The agent is our little robot that helps us with all of our coding projects. And we need our agent. So we're going to meet our agent. And you can see he was standing there next to the captain. Right there he was. And of course, we need to greet our agent. So to greet our agent, you'll notice this is my favorite part of the MakeCode thing, right? I can simply just say, I'm going to jump into the tutorial. But if I don't know what to do, there is a video link right here. Awesome. And if I click that video link, it will take me right to a YouTube video that will explain to me everything to do there and what to do next. And yes, of course, there's always all these ridiculous other things on YouTube. But, we get an intro. And by the way, there is audio. I know you can't hear my audio right now. That's okay, but all of these have audio. I'm hearing myself. I don't want to hear myself right now. We're gonna close that one up. Oh, wrong button. Let's minimize that guy. There we go. But I can do this. And also, there's a board over here that gives you the step-by-step instructions of what to do. And yes, this works with the immersive reader also. You just have to press I on your keyboard. But of course, immersive reader is being funky right now. But it will work. It totally will work. All right. So it's telling us to press C or the little agent if we're using a touch screen to open our code builder, to read the tutorial, to press the play button, and then come back and talk to the captain. And this is really just to meet our agent. Right? So the code is already here to say, hello, agent. On the left, we have our instructions and our step-by-step instructions of what to do. Anytime we need a hint, there's this little light bulb, and we can click that and be like, yeah, our code looks like that. We've done a good job. The first one, you don't actually have to do any coding, which is great. You just have to learn how to use Code Builder, right? And how to run a code. So we've given you the code. You just got to run it. So we're going to press play. If you wait a second in the top left, you can see I'm greeting my agent. I said, hello, agent, through code. I have coded my chat to greet the agent. And then, of course, the last thing it says to do is talk to the captain again. So let's talk to the captain. Now, I can choose to go to the next tutorial activity. I'm not going to do that right now. There are 7 pre-tutorial activities that kind of give you some insight into some of the skills you're going to be learning and teach you those steps along the way. By the way, each one has a tutorial video. So if you ever get to any of the tutorials and you're like, I don't know how to do this, you can just talk to Captain McKenna, who will be standing right behind you all the way over your shoulder, waiting behind you to help you out. And you can get that help as you go through the tutorials. You can reset this activity and do it again. This was an easy one where all we had to do was press play. We can move on to the next activity, or we can choose to skip the tutorials. And I'm going to do that for now. Right? And that's going to actually unlock all the games that I can learn to code. You can see, boom, we got these arcade machines that have popped in.
I love it.
They're so cool, right? Now, if I still wanted to go back and do the tutorials, I was like, I need help. I need to do the tutorials. I can go to the tutorial table over here, and I can hit start and go through those tutorials. But we're not going to do that right now.
Eric, I love how this gives you the option to either be brand new and learn step by step and go, oh, wait, I missed something, and go back and review, or to say, I've got it dialed, I can move on to the next step. So I love the variety of options here. You guys did a great job with that.
That is exactly it. Yeah. So what's great also is we've created tutorials for 5 mini games that you're going to be learning to make. The first one is a parkour game, and you'll see it says even the difficulty for this one is introductory. I'm not going to jump into this one right now. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go in and code this game, because when we code this game, we are immediately greeted by one of the game code kids that we met on the ship. We have a guide that's a student guide that we can use to basically check off our progress as we go and make sure we understand each concept as we're doing it. And then, of course, there's my wonderful tutorial button.
Videos.
And what's great is this will take me to a playlist of all of the steps. They are always short. You'll notice this one is 1:55. This one is 2. None of them are even like the longest one is 4 minutes. You know, these are short little bite-sized segments that will teach you how to make this game. Gonna close that. You wouldn't hear them if I played them anyway. But basically what you would do is you would open those videos, you would watch that segment, you would do that step right here. We are inside that arcade machine in the world. We are in it. You would build whatever you need to build in here. And you notice I'm even given some of the resources and blocks that I need right here in order to start the process, because that first video is going to tell me like, hey, you're going to need these 2 blocks. I already have them. Like we did it. Like it was given to you. So that's the best part there. And, you know, you go through the steps and you build your parkour course and your little arcade game in here. And that's the beauty of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to interact with this machine. And by the way, anytime you need to go back to the videos, if you're like, I don't know, he's got that spinny icon right there. I can talk to him and just go right back to the tutorial videos.
Okay.
If I go back to the arcade machine, there is a fun little Easter egg that's just to turn on the machine, and that just changes the design as if the machine is ready to run. You get a little design in there, but we can return to the lobby at any time. Let's look at one as an example, right? We're not going to sit here and code a whole game on this stream. So let's look at one as an example. And I'm actually going to go to the very last one that you learned, which is called Dunk Tank. And Claire, we're going to play this one together.
Okay.
So let's look at what a game might look like, right? And again, this one has the tutorial videos that pop up. Here's my playlist for Dunk Tank. You know, the code gets much more complicated, obviously, but we're building you up to it. If you worked through the other games, you'll be like, oh, we've done some of this already. This looks familiar. We're just making it a little bit more complicated with each step.
So Eric, I have a question on Dunk Tank. Like I see the number of videos. It looks to me like maybe an hour to an hour and a half-ish to complete each one. Does that sound about right?
Probably between the videos and actually completing the steps, you could probably finish each one in an hour. You know, and some people, you know, there are ways if you're like, no, I already know how to do that part. I'll skip ahead to this part. That's, you know, there are some folks where that's going to be the case. If you're learning from scratch, if it's your first time, you know, work through them. So you might need, you know, maybe you do 1 or 2 of these activities a day. And after 3 days of learning, you've got the skills you need to build your own, or at least to start planning your own and start building it. And what's beautiful is you got like a month to figure all this out. So even if it takes you the first week to get through these activities and to brainstorm and things like that, you've got 3 weeks to get things working. Not to mention, you know, hopefully you're working with a team. So, you know, 2 heads is better than 1. 4 heads is way better than 1.
Exactly.
And you can work together to kind of really figure out what you want it to do and to problem solve and to debug and all of those things that you need to do to get your game up and running.
Perfect.
So I wanted to show
we're
this
at
one
the Dunk
for
Tank.
a reason. So I'm going to open Code Builder again by pressing C. Here we go. And oh boy. So these, by the way, are the game code tutorials that I was popping through. You're going to have ways to go back to look at your code in those tutorials if you wanted to. One of them I didn't finish, and that's okay. But this is my Dunk Tank code. I already have it coded, you know, in the interest of time. We're just going to run the game and see what it looks like when we have a finished product.
Okay.
So let's do this. And Claire, you and I are going to play this together. Now, one of the things I want you to notice in this code, and this one's got a lot of code. But this very first function over here says build structure. And why I'm showing this to you is when you submit your code to us, we really want it so that we can run your code in our version. Like I could open up a game code world, take the code that you're giving me and play the game, which means you can't design a world because I'm not going to get an MC world file from you. I'm just going to get code from you, which means we want your code to include the building of anything that needs to be built in the game as well. That's going to be really important. So for example, in Dunk Tank, when you do this tutorial, in fact, every example, except for the very first one, because we're starting simple, is going to have it where the structure or the world that you play it in is built as part of your code. So that's what we want. And that way, when you submit your code, we can play it anywhere and it'll work.
Got it.
So I'm going to run this code, and we're going to type play. And you'll notice he's building the structure, right? Like I could have done this with anybody's code, right? I can go into a different world and run this code, and it works. And notice it said guess a number 1 through 100. So the purpose of this one is to figure out the number. Every time we get one wrong, our agent it's like Hangman, right? He's going to break a block.
You're a step closer to the dunk tank.
And every time we break one of these blocks, that villager up there is closer and closer to getting dunked. So Claire, let's do this one as an example, right? So we're going to guess a number. And for this one, they're learning about passing parameters through functions, which means we're going to type the word guess, and then we're going to guess a number. So if we have to guess 1 through 100, where might we start?
I mean, I feel like 50 is the obvious answer.
Right. Start in the middle, and then we can
start in the middle.
Cut it in half, cut it in half, cut it in half, right? There's a method to this. We're using logic. We're using math. I love it. All right, so we're going to guess 50. Nope, that was too low. See, up in the chat there, it tells me that was too low. So we're going to guess again. What should we guess next if 50 was too low? That means it's between 51 and 100.
I mean, should we just keep splitting in the middle?
I think that's a good method. Yeah, let's just split it.
So let's go 75.
75. 75 is too high, so we know it's between 50 and 75. So 51 to 74.
Like 62.
62 works. Let's try 62. 62 is too high. So we know it's between 51 and 61. We've narrowed it down a lot.
So 56.
Let's try 56.
I'm going so safe. Middle. I'm not doing any.
All right, 56 is too high. So we know it's between 51 and 55. We're getting so close.
53.
All right, 53. All right, 53 is too low, which means it's either 54 or 55. We got a 50-50 shot. There is one block left there.
Oh my gosh. The pressure. The pressure. Okay.
It's all or nothing right now.
54.
All right, 54. Nope, it was 55. It says correct answer 55, and we got dunked.
Although we're in a heat wave, so I'm okay with being in the water.
You know what? So my favorite thing about these lessons is that students can modify the code once they've learned it. And of course, I will tell you right now, the first thing that every student does is they turn this water into lava. They're like, no, high stakes. We want high stakes, right? Because if I go into this machine right here
off.
and reset this whole area, and let's hit play again. Yeah, the stakes are much higher now.
Oh man,
we're not going to play it again. Just a thought of something you might want to try if you're having fun with it. Just by changing one little thing in our code, we have raised the stakes
significantly.
Anyway, we are going to go.
That is so fun. Okay,
back to the lobby. Now, you've noticed there was the tutorial table over here. There are our 5 arcade game machines that we can learn how to code, right? Including our dunk tank, which we just did. Yeah. And then there's a build your own over here.
Okay. All right.
This is where you are completing your challenge in the build your own arcade cabinet. Now, while you can build about anything, we want you to build a Farmcraft themed game, and it can be from anything you've chosen. So I'm going to code this game. Now, again, we are greeted by another character, Brian. In this case, we've got a guide. We've got tutorial video that kind of just explains it. There is a project rubric here. You can use it. It's not specific to Farmcraft, but it does talk about all the things that are important to game design. So if you want to use that rubric to kind of guide your thought process and really focus on the design process, and that is really what we focus on in the tutorial video, is the game design process. Just like there's an engineering design process, that rubric and that tutorial video and that guide are going to help you do it. But we want you to use our challenge, which means you're not going to build any old game in here. You're going to build a Farmcraft themed game. Now, I have made one. It is silly. It is ridiculous, but it gives you a good example of what we are looking for. Okay. It gives you a good example of what your game could be. And it's aligned to Farmcraft standards, but it's still a fun little silly game. All right. We're not looking for massive. So I'm going to open up my code builder. I already have my code. I call this one Feed the Agent, right? Because some of our goals were transporting goods and services, right? The transportation and feeding a population. So I focused on those two. I need to transport food to the agent to feed the population. In this case, the population is my agent. I want you to notice that the build is over here, meaning, again, the build of the structure I need to play the game is in the code, right? There's nothing in my world right now. I didn't pre-build this structure. My agent or my code is building this structure. And again, the tutorials will teach you all of this. And then, of course, on the right is the gameplay code as well. So, for example, my code says that you need to run the build command first and then the play command to play the game. When you submit, you're going to have an area where you put gameplay instructions. It's going to be important for you to say, first run the command build, then run the command play, if that's how your game is going to work. You noticed in the last one, all of that was just in one play command, in our dunk tank. So you could do it that way too. Run the command play to play the game.
Right.
You can also include instructions once you've learned how to use things like the titles or the chat commands, and you'll see it in my game right here, where the instructions are right in the game. So if I press play, it says type build in the chat. It was very quick. I know it said type build in the chat, right? So let's type build in the chat.
Build.
And I got the structure, right?
Oh, wow. Voila.
Yeah, I've got my game structure. Just like that.
Right. Is that water?
We got water. Yeah, there's water in here. And it doesn't matter if I mess around with this too much right now. And then, of course, when I ran this, you saw it there for a second, but I was busy talking. It said then to play the game, we're going to type play. Now, I'm going to jump into third-person mode for this. You notice I have a boat in my inventory there. And I'm already wasting time. I'm going to get in my boat because my job is to take chickens and deliver them to the agent, which he will then eat the chicken, and I will go get another chicken. So gosh,
I love this.
I've got food, I'm feeding a population, and I'm transporting that food.
This is what I was saying, because when we talk about coding and a game, and it all sounds so involved to somebody, and this is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a very hungry agent.
Loving that chicken.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe
so
he's
this
having
is a
a big
little
party,
and again, all the skills I used to make this one are skills that are learned through the curriculum. Now, what's fortunate too is sometimes you'll get lucky in my game, and the chickens will feed themselves to the agent.
Wow.
So I'm gonna try and just keep feeding the agent
they're
here.
swimming.
Time will run out eventually. There you go. I fed the agent 12 times, and then all the chickens are gone. Poof.
Oh.
And the game is over. What's great is I don't have to build the whole structure again. I can just type play and play again. So, for example, if I typed play, I can play again. It says the agent demands food. Here's bring him chickens, right? And I can get in here. And I found that playing my game in this third-person mode was easier, so I switched to that third-person mode. You don't have to. Maybe you include that in your instructions. Switch to third-person mode by pressing F5 or however it is, depending on the device you're using. And this is my mini game. So what are my focus points here based on Farmcraft, right? I am feeding a population, and I am transporting goods and services. In this case, chickens. I have to transport the chickens to the agent. And I feel like every joke we always make on these streams is about chickens. So why not, right? Like,
there's a lot of
chickens. We're gonna do this with chickens. They're a fun one to use, right? Maybe I don't have the caterpillars to use, but I do have chickens to use.
You do have chickens, right?
All right, so this is the goal. You're going to build a mini game that we can play in this arcade cabinet, in the build your own arcade cabinet. Now, I'm going to press C. That'll stop that code. And again, here's my code. Now, I'm ready to submit my game. I've got my game all laid out. There's some instructions in this game, but I need to submit it. Now, I don't submit my world. I don't export this world as a world file. I'm not going to create a video. No video.
Yeah.
I'm going to submit my game so that others can play it. The way I do that, and there's a really easy way to do it, is you'll see this button right up here on the top right. And this is the publish button or share button right here. It's this like kind of sideways V thing. It's really like one person going to multiple people, right? Like we're sharing it with a bunch of people. If I click that, it's going to ask me to name it. So I put feed the agent, but this is just an example. You are not making feed the agent. I made feed the agent as my example, my game. I'm going to click share project. And that's going to give me a link. It also gives me a QR code and some ways to share it with social media. So if you want to share your game far and wide, you can. But I'm going to copy this link. Okay. What's great about that link is if I go back to, or I'm going to close this. If I go back to the home screen And you can still hear the chickens on my screen. You can't hear the chickens, but I still hear the chickens.
I forgot I was
When
gonna make
we
chicken
receive
noises.
your code, or if we want to share the code of others for you to play their games, there's an import button right here. I can go to that import button, import via URL, paste that code right there, and hit go ahead. And I've got the code.
Okay.
That means we get to
Awesome.
play all of your games, right? I don't want to see your games. I want to play your games,
Exactly.
right? So that way you get to share your games with others. So
Perfect.
let's go back and look at what the submission process is, right? I've got my link. I still have it copied in my clipboard. I've got my link. Let's look at how we submit. So we're going to jump over back to our, oh boy, my hand is a little shaky today. Back to our Farmcraft page. And here we were on the Coding Camp Challenge. And we're going to hit Submit Challenge. And when we do, we are taken to, and I'm going to jump ahead because this is just going to be in the interest of time. You're going to be taken to this form. Now, this form is the same for both the Build Challenge and the Coding Challenge. So look at, I've got my adult facilitator name is Testy. This is Testy Testerson. Their email is test@test.test. They live in the state of Testorado in the country of Testlandia. And their team name is the Testers. But you're going to select the Coding Challenge, right? You're going to put your real information here, by the way, or your adult sponsors information. We're going to select Coding Challenge. When we hit next, this is branching, so we're going to get some different information. It's going to say link to your MakeCode for Minecraft file. I'm going to just go ahead and paste my link right there. I'm going to describe my game, feed the agent by using the boat to bring him chickens.
Do we want them there to say something like how it connects to Farmcraft?
Yeah. That would be great. This meets the goals of food transportation.
And feeding a population, right?
And feeding a population.
Perfect.
I can spell. Anytime I am forced to type on screen while I know people are watching, it's like slower, more awkward, more typos, and then instructions, right?
Yep.
Load game. Type, build, type, play. And again, I would make it more detailed. I've obviously, in the interest of time, I am going very short on my details here. But these are the kind of things you want to put. I would probably also put exactly what the gameplay is. Put down the boat, get in the boat, go get the chickens, bring them back to the agent. I would explain all of those details on the exact gameplay mechanics of the game. You can, again, also do that in the world by using the say commands that you will learn as you go through it, using the title cards like I did to do it. There are lots of ways you can share the information both in world and here as you do your submission. So I'm going to hit submit. Sorry, Claire, you're going to get one really weird one from some testy person.
That's okay.
Right? And it's going to say that you've been recorded and it's all set to go.
Right. So for those of you who have already been participating in the market challenge and you have seen the beginning of this submission form, you'll notice that we have added to it. So you can still be working on your build a market challenge and you can still submit there. Now we have two different options for submission on that form. Yep.
Make it nice and easy. Still a one-stop shop.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. So that's everything you need to know to get started. And again, if we go into the challenge guide, and I'm going to go back to the challenge guide, right? We talk about accessing game code. This is what we just did on screen, right? We created our world. There is actually a link here if you've got Minecraft open that will take you there directly, which is really cool. Like if I click this link, right? And I say I want to open this in Minecraft Education. I do have the preview info installed. You'll see my Minecraft logo down here is blinking. I'm going to close this code. But usually you get a prompt that says, do you want to leave this world and go into the new one? I had the code builder open, so I didn't. And my chickens are going just crazy here.
They are. Look at that.
Now, what's great also is if you're doing this and, you get stuck like I am, you own this world. So I can go into settings. I can change myself back to creative. Because, I kind of quit the game in the middle of playing, which was probably not a bright idea. But, I can go back here and I can reset this whole space and I can test everything again. Let's reset that one more time. And of course, the chickens in the boat and stuff are gonna stay because you're gonna have to do some cleanup, if you're doing what I'm doing. So that's on me, Like this is
Oh,
where
that's
all the
hilarious.
other spaces
Oh
will
no,
really
now
do the
the
cleanup.
chickens are wandering.
That's okay. Look, the other
We're gonna
spaces
have
are all
eggs
designed to clean us up.
everywhere. Watch your step.
Right. But we don't know what you're building here. So we didn't want to delete stuff you were using. So that's,
Yes.
this is your space to do whatever you want with. And in my space, I put a lot of chickens. So this is where we're at.
Well, Eric,
And
in
that's
that
okay.
guide, the thing that I love, you went through and demonstrated on video what to do.
Yep. But what's great is if I run my build.
Sorry,
And
in that
go ahead.
guide, in that guide, we've got
Yeah.
step-by-step instructions and screenshots and everything you need to follow along. So you can either watch the video. If you want, you can, of course, rewatch certain segments, but then you also can just use the guide and go step-by-step in the screenshots.
Yeah. And you know what? In my code is a reset anyway at the end. So if I just run my game all the way to the end again, it'll reset this world, which is great. So it's important. And we talk about in our codes, like, including reset, commands to reset and start the game over. You noticed at the end of the last one, I could just type play and play again, which was awesome. So, if things happen, if things get messed up, if you code it right, it solves those problems for you. And you just gotta do what I'm doing. There's a boat still stuck here. We're gonna just bring him this chicken over here. And this one over here.
Must complete challenge.
Well, this time, like I quit the game right in the middle of it to show you how to submit it. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. There you go.
40 times.
Look at it. Yeah, because some of the chickens were still there, right? Now we're inside my head. But the good news is, of course, everything got cleared up. It got reset. Now I can play again. So, but that's it. That's what we want you to do is make a fun, silly, enjoyable, fun to play mini game. It could be your agent is doing the farming and planting and harvesting crops. It could be, transportation of goods like I did here. It could be, watering and irrigating. Like, you got crops that need to grow and you got to place water where water is needed. There are all sorts of things you can do and have fun with this. But we just wanted to be Farmcraft themed. So use the game code curriculum and make us a Farmcraft themed mini game. And this is it. This is my mini game. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. Yeah.
Love it. So again, you find everything that you need on that Farmcraft landing page, and you can just scroll right down and either get the details for that Build a Market challenge that is still happening, or for this coding challenge. So everything is right there that you need. As always, if you have questions, you can email us info@nasef.org. And Carolyn is so good at helping out with things. Reminder, this is so expensive. It's free. It is free to play.
It is totally free.
It is free to do the coding.
You know what, Claire? Speaking of free, there's one very quick thing I want to share. Really quick. If we go into the document, right? And here's the document. You'll see here, there's a link here that says comprehensive instructions, right? Video tutorials and comprehensive instructions. If you are a camp counselor, a teacher who's doing summer camp, running a coding camp, whatever it is, if you go to this comprehensive instructions, you get redirected to a link. You get a zip folder right here. I got all sorts of stuff going on here, and that's mostly, our stuff. But if you unzip that, you get slide decks, you get lesson plans, you get educator guides, all of that stuff. If you're running it yourself and you're like, I want to help my students get through it, we've got resources for you as the educator as well. And students, if you want to access those slide decks and stuff too, to help you prepare to build your game, teach yourself. Those resources are there for you.
Awesome. All kinds of hidden features.
Right. And it's right there in the document.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and playing along as I got dunked, thankfully, in water and not lava. And as we were able to feed the agent with lots and lots and lots of chickens. So much fun. And I hope you have a takeaway from that. I mean, we're making games, so it should be fun, right? But at the exact same time, you're getting all kinds of fantastic skills so that maybe someday you can have an awesome job like Eric's and be a game designer. I mean, how cool is that? So,
I am cool with it.
Yeah, great.
My goal is to have all of you take my place.
Okay. Okay, love it. I don't know about take your place. How about stand next to you and we'll just make more and more and more and
That's
more.
fair. I'm cool with that.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, as always, email us. And we cannot wait to not only see, but we get to play your mini games. So make sure you're submitting those correctly. And we will have, let's see, what is the date of our
There's so
final
much fun.
stream? Scroll down just a little bit. Timeline of events.
Yeah, let's do
We
that.
have on August 29th, we will have the showcase stream where we're going to share some of the market builds and we're going to share some of the games that y'all have submitted. So make
Yeah, I mean,
sure
I want
you
to play
get
some of
those
them right
into
here
us.
on the live stream. So
Oh,
yeah, that's
yeah,
my goal. I want to
100%.
play them. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So make sure you meet those deadline days to submit, and we will see you on August 29th for some fun gameplay.
Sounds awesome.
See y'all later.
Take care, everyone.